Hello! Welcome once again to the enchanted kingdom of Hermione. The Empress is in attendance downstairs, making some gastronomical delight, I'm sure. And I am the Lord Chamberlain of the Enchanted Kingdom, Zipgun, and I'm up here in the Turret of Pleasure where we keep all the runes and things. And I'm continuing on with my little series that I'm trying to do weekly. A series of great moments of my life, musical moments. So, in other words, in my life, musical events that impacted me greatly, affected me, formed me, turned me into the musician I am today, perhaps. And today's one, I got all nostalgic. I don't really get too nostalgic about stuff. I mean, everybody gets a bit nostalgic, but I try to fight it because too much nostalgia and you don't create anything new. But once I started sort of figuring out what I was going to put in these moments, because I could have put a lot of different things in that were kind of, maybe not. They weren't giant epiphanies, and this one wasn't a giant epiphany as such. But in retrospect, thinking about it now, this was the moment when the wave beached, if you will, with the Summer of Love. The Summer of Love had gotten more and more and more kind of gooey and whatever, if you're going to San Francisco, wear flowers in your hair, and it was getting, even to me, I was only, what? How old was I here? I was like 8. I was almost 8. But the exotica quotient of a lot of the Summer of Love appealed to me greatly, because suddenly you had people playing sitars in songs, and I didn't know a sitar from anything. What the hell's a sitar? It sounds neat. And you just, people were thinking outside the box. And one such artist who had enjoyed quite a string of hits up to this point was Donovan. And Donovan was absolutely everywhere in the early days. I remember Catch the Wind being a song I heard when I was just a child. Sunshine Superman came along. Mellow Yellow came along. These were massive hits, just huge. And they were on every radio station constantly. And they were kind of neat. Like Mickey Mouse had a thing in those days. Like Mellow Yellow with the marching band. Sunshine Superman with the fade-in guitar, the volume pedal guitar. These were kind of neat audio tricks that, to my very young ears, were just cool. They were magic. But for me, the real peak of his kind of creative flower power period was the single Epistle to Dippy, which a lot of people are going to go, what's that? And you've all heard it. It was a fairly big hit. It wasn't as big as Mellow Yellow. Strangely, it was a very rare 7-inch only release in the USA. Now, 7-inch only releases were relatively common in the UK, becoming less common in the 70s. The notion being that you didn't want to charge people twice for the same thing. And in England, the albums were usually 14 songs, and the singles would be separate. You'd go buy the single, you get your single jollies, then you go buy the album. In America, it was a little different. Singles were usually used to sell the albums. So you'd have a hit single, and then you'd put an album out with the hit single leading off the album to help sell the album. But very occasionally, and this is one, they would put out just a single by an artist without an album to promote. And that was the case with Epistle to Dippy. And again, I mentioned before in other videos that when I was a kid, I didn't pay attention to lyrics. It didn't really, And there's one line in Epistle to Dippy where he goes, looking through crystal spectacles, I can see I had your fun. And the way he says crystal spectacles is weird. And I had no idea what he was saying for, 50 years maybe. Looking through crystal spectacles, whatever crystal spec is, And that's how I heard it forever. Absolutely forever and a day. Crystal spec. I wonder what crystal spec is. Well, looking through it apparently tickles. Okay, well, nope, wrong. Looking through crystal spectacles. Okay. Apparently the song is about a friend who joined the army. And, of course, I had no idea. I couldn't have cared less. What I cared about was it was this weird-sounding, psychedelic song that was really, like, it starts with a completely out-of-tune guitar going clang, 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 which is like, huh? And then I think it's in the third verse, suddenly this orchestra, string quartet, I guess, comes in, and it's all very sweet and beautiful, and I think John Paul Jones arranged it. And I think Jimmy Page plays on it. But it, to me, absolutely summarized the Summer of Love. And the album that came out around that time, which was A Gift from a Flower to a Garden, had that great photo of him in the garden all tinted out in purple and yellow, or purple and red. And it was just pure psychedelia. And for me, that was an important moment when I realized, wow, this psychedelic thing is real. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to count that as a moment. And it happened when it happened. It happened when the song was on the radio, and I was quite affected by it. So there you go. It's a moment for sure. And that's it for this one. I'm going to wait and do another one about more moments. Some more major than others. Some bizarre. I haven't got to too many of the weird ones yet. These are all pretty standard stuff. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell and look after each other. Try to have a good year this year. I'm hoping it's not like 1940 going into 41, but that's my historical thought about it. So there you go. Take it easy, and we'll talk at you later.